Morning and welcome back for another adventure. We are back in the neighborhood. I'm launching out of the Severn today. It's a little after 6 o'clock in the morning. I like to get out early, beat the wind. The wind's supposed to come up this afternoon, so good morning for sea doing, bad afternoon for sea doing, better afternoon for sailing. So today we're going to get on the machine and we're going to roll out into the Severn. We're going to explore a little story that my neighbor talked about off of the southern point of Kent Island at Bloody Point. And then we're going to make our way into Tilghman Island. We're going to go through Knapp's Narrows, which I think will be an interesting place to get the drone up and get some footage of that. And then we're going to make it through Knapp's Narrows and into the Chesapeake River. The Chesapeake River always makes me smile. And a gentleman in the 1970s wrote a book called Chesapeake, and it's a historically based fiction. If you're familiar with James Michener, that his novels sort of all have the same chronology or the same style to them, but the book was set on the Chesapeake River. He wrote it out of a little town called Oxford, and he had one character in there named Rosalind, who apparently was a really smart lady but not a particularly attractive lady, and so she had this little island or this little place on the Chesapeake. So always makes me think of her when we head over there. So that's going to be our journey today. I just dropped the machine in. I need to jump on and get situated, but looks like a beautiful morning. There's still, over my shoulder here, you can still see there's some fog coming off. It's about 68 degrees. I think it's supposed to get into the 70s today. We had a pretty good rainstorm, pretty good thunderstorm yesterday. It was pretty warm, so let's hop on the machine and we'll get buttoned up and we'll get underway here. All right. Got everything on the machine and looks like everything's up and running optimally. Sun's just coming up. Looks like so far we got the river to ourselves. I'm sure as we get down further to the mouth of the bay, we'll see some crabbers and some fishermen, but we're just putting through the no wake zone here and getting ready to hit the zone to speed up. So looking forward to this ride today. I imagine we'll be out for a couple of hours. Hopefully the wind stays down a little lower than what it was last week when we went out to Smith Island. That's always optimal for rides like this. But a beautiful morning out on the water. I like getting out here in the morning. Just not a lot of traffic, not a lot going on. A lot to see. So I'm gonna put the camera down and we'll get rolling here. Still in the bay, or excuse me, still in the Severn River, but I just wanted to point out I consider myself a pretty fortunate individual. I live in a nice place and I have a toy that I can get out on the water, but this thing over my shoulder, good grief, that is a monster. So frequently in the summer we get big motor yachts that come up into the bay and into Annapolis, and I guess they were coming up further up the Severn River last night to anchor and spend the night. We're in about 18 feet of water right here, is what my depth gauge says, but pretty view, a couple of pretty boats there. All right, we made it out of the Severn, and we are right at the mouth of the Chesapeake Bay and the Severn River. Over my right shoulder is the Chesapeake Bay. Chesapeake Bay Bridge. I don't know if you can make it out from there. So pretty smooth ride out this morning. Starting to see some crabbers and dodging some crab pots, and went by the United States Naval Academy on my way out. So our next destination is going to be over my left shoulder. It's called Bloody Point. It's the bottom point of Kent Island, the southern point of Kent Island. So we're going to head across the bay here. It's definitely not flat, but it's not too terrible in terms of choppiness or roughness. So we'll just take it easy and head across the bay, and our next stop will be Bloody Point. So I'll talk to you. We made it out to Bloody Point. A little bit windier than when we started on the other side of the bay at the mouth of the Severn. So starting to get some white caps. Looks like winds coming up about 10 miles an hour out of the north. So definitely a better sailing day than a Sea Doo day, but take all we can get, right? Better than sitting on our backside in front of a computer working. So we are about halfway across to our destination, which is Tilghman Island. I want to stop here a minute and talk about Bloody Point. So Bloody Point is over here, over my left shoulder. It's the southern tip of Kent Island, and the reason I bring this up, if you do any research about the bay, you'll know that the average depth is about 21 feet. And actually, I was reading something that the Chesapeake Bay Foundation put out and said if we're at least 6 feet tall, there's over 700,000 acres in the Chesapeake Bay watershed that a 6-foot tall person could walk around in and their head would never get wet. So it's a relatively shallow area. I was talking to my neighbor, John Nilsson. Shout out to John. Hey, John. And big fan of the channel. His wife, much cooler wife, Helen Nilsson. Hi, Helen. And John and I were talking about Bloody Point, which has the deepest part of the bay. It gets down to about 150 to 200 feet, which as compared to like the ocean or maybe some other areas like the Great Lakes or something, maybe isn't that deep. For the bay, that's really deep. And so John, who's been on the earth a little bit longer than I have, was telling me some stories that he had read about crabbers and oystermen and watermen that maybe back in the 1800s and early 1900s, as they would come around Bloody Point heading for port to get rid of or turn in their catch for pay, they would do a sailing maneuver called jive ho, where the boom of the skipjack or the sailboat, back then there wasn't motorized motors, the boom would swing and knock an unaware sailor or fisherman or waterman into the water, and they'd left to either try and swim to shore, or maybe if they couldn't swim, they drown. And so I don't know, I'll have to look up the history of Bloody Point if that has anything to do with it, but an interesting story. I guess I'm over a watery grave here, so a good story from John. Over my right shoulder here, you can see the Bloody Point lighthouse. So we're going to keep moving. We are definitely going with the wind, so it's going to make for a wet one on the way back. Maybe I'll get lucky and the wind will die down a little bit, but nevertheless, fun to be out here, and we're going to keep moving. Next stop will be Tilman Island. All right, we are out of the bay. We went across the main bay and then into the eastern bay, and boy, let me tell you, it's rough. So I did this ride last year, probably about the same time, and it was equally as windy. So I don't, maybe it's just me and it's unlucky when I try and come over to Tilman, but nevertheless, welcome to Tilghman Island. So I'll post up a shot of the map, but there is a peninsula that St. Michael's and Nevitt and some of the other Talbot County land is on. And then there is what we are on, this body of water now, called Knapp's Narrows, that cuts across that peninsula, which is that way behind you, and Tilghman Island, which is behind me over my right shoulder. So this is Tilghman Island. We are on Knapp's Narrows. As you can see, it's a little cut through here and a nice break from the wind. Tilghman Island was named, I believe the gentleman's name was Matthew Tilman, and back in the 1700s and into the 1800s. And originally this was farming and agriculture and watermen. It played a prominent history in the War of 1812. If you're a historian, the British came ashore here and used this as a launching spot to attack Baltimore and other ports on the Chesapeake Bay. As we get up further here, you'll get to see some of the waterman boats and stuff, but like many of these little towns on the Chesapeake Bay that once upon a time were probably really prominent for watermen and agriculture, these towns are really shifting to service and tourism. There's a lot of Airbnbs, and there's a marina over here, and so it becomes more of a tourist area than it does actually for watermen, as that's all become commercialized. Really pretty here, nice and calm in here. You can see some of the waterman boats over my shoulder here. Some of the wildlife, lots of waterfowl. The other way here, we've got this is the Knapp's Narrow Marina and Inn. So, especially, I imagine it gets busy during the summer. People traveling by waterway up and down the bay, looking for a place to stay. So it looks like it's got fuel, probably maintenance and other things like that. So we're just cutting through here. Imagine crab shanties. So watermen go out and collect their catch and come back and offload. Beautiful morning. So ahead of us coming up is the Knapp's Narrow Bridge. So if you were on one of a sailboat or a larger boat, I don't know what the clearance is here, I imagine it says it on the sign, you could call ahead and have them open the bridge for you so you could clear it. Got fire rescue, that's always a good sign. We got $3.63 on gasoline and $2.94 on diesel. I guess that's a pretty good deal. Got one of the many restaurants. And just a cool little town out here in Talbot County. I like coming over here and seeing this. Going under the drawbridge here. And obviously some kind of waterman apparatus to offload crabs or oysters, tanks, and then probably up to Baltimore, New York, or wherever else they can eat. I've got a few more waterman boats here, but just a really pretty ride. I love this little Knapp's Narrow, just cutting through. It kind of gives you the dichotomy of the history on the right side here. You sort of have the history and the watermen and what the culture used to be, and then if I flip our point of view around, right on the left side, you have, okay, hey, I want to have my vacation home. I want to live on the water. I want to have some sort of boat to cut around on. So the dichotomy of the island, or just this little Knapp's Narrows, is pretty interesting. So we got a few hundred more yards to go, and Knapp's Narrows cuts from the eastern Chesapeake Bay, and it's going to shoot us out onto the Chesapeake River.
Choptank River is a pretty prominent pretty prominent river on the bay. A lot of oystering and crabbing and stuff like that. It's a pretty big, pretty broad, wide river. So it's a beautiful day. Water temperature is about 77 degrees. It'd be nice if there was a little less wind, but we'll take what we can get. And I'm in about 12 feet of water here as I go through Naps Narrows. So if you're on a bigger vessel, plenty of room to come through here. So a pretty ride through here. So as we get up here to the end and get into the Choptank, I think I'm gonna turn back around and get the drone up and get some aerial shots of Naps Narrows as we roll through here. And it definitely gives me a break from the wind and the accompanying waves out on the bay. We've got the Choptank right out here at the channel marker, so we've definitely covered some ground this morning. I guess we left about out of the neighborhood marina about 6:30 this morning. We stopped to play with the camera some, but it's about 8 o'clock, so it's about an hour and a half ride over here. Again, a little choppy, so I had to definitely slow down to deal with all of the waves. But a beautiful place and a beautiful morning.
right, we are tied up over at Tilghman Island. It's still pretty windy. It's not getting any better, so it's gonna be a rough ride back, but we made it over here nevertheless. So Tilghman Island, beautiful place. We are gonna walk up this little path here. There's a little diner called Tilghman by Sea. It's got great breakfast, so I'm gonna walk in, sit at the counter, grab a bite to eat, and then get back on the machine and head back into the wind and the waves. So definitely probably hear the wind better than me describing it. See the American flag here. Over our left shoulder we got the Chesapeake River. So let's walk up the path and check. As I'm walking up the street, you can see some of the homes, and this is what I was talking about as we were going through Naps Narrows. Once upon a time this was probably farmland. You can see the chop tank back here. So this was farmland, probably watermen lived here, corn, soybeans, something like that. And anymore it's, you know, more weekend destinations for people that live in other parts of Maryland or Washington DC or Delaware or maybe even Pennsylvania, coming down looking to enjoy a small quiet waterside town. So some beautiful homes. I think one up the street here I was looking on realtor.com was $1.5 million for waterfront, so sleepy little town. So that's big bucks, but beautiful place, nice blue skies today. I'm gonna walk up to this diner and grab a bite to eat. Right, we're coming up on the diner, so I just walked up the street here, and you can see over my shoulder this is called Tilghman by Sea. If you're over here in Tilghman Island, I've been here a few times. It's got great food. I've only been over here for breakfast. I think they're only open till like 2, do desserts and stuff like that, but they got a nice counter. They got good food, so definitely recommend it if you're over here at Tilman. Come check it out. All right, we're back on the machine, and I'm gonna play it safe. I'm gonna go through Naps Narrows and head back out into the bay. I was thinking when I planned the ride, I would go and circumnavigate Tilghman Island. It's really windy, and so I'm already gonna take a beating heading back. So I'm gonna be a chicken and play it safe and get some smooth water here through Naps Narrows and head back out into the bay. The wind just keeps picking up, so she's gonna be a rough one out there, but that's okay. So pretty morning, nice riding over here to Tilghman Island, really pretty. We got tied up, we walked up the street there to Tilghman by Sea diner, nice place. Got the gas can out of the front here, topped her back off, and we got about another, I don't know, probably an hour ride back. So try and get some shots out in the bay and show you how rough it might be. And we got some people fishing and some boats starting to move, so people are waking up. It's after 9 in the morning now, so we'll see how it goes. But I'm gonna button up here, and next stop we'll be out in the middle of the bay. All right, guys, we made it about halfway. We made it through the eastern bay, and now we're coming around the southern point of Tilghman Island. We are heading right into the wind, so these rollers are just keep coming. So, it's not the most enjoyable ride with rollers. I am just soaked, so I'm just standing up and trying to ride through it. So mouth of the Severn is probably hopefully another 20 minutes across this, and it'll get a little calmer over there. But roller after roller. Pretty good, not a cloud in the sky. But lots of white caps. See the bay up ahead. So I'll pop this back down, and we'll touch base again when we get back on the show.
back at the mouth of the Severn. Made it across. Quite adventurous. I am definitely dripping head to tail. With the wind up, it's a good day for sailing, not a great day for canoeing. Over my shoulder here, lots of sailboats lining up, so it looks like a beautiful day. We're going to head back into the river. Hopefully the rollers and the waves will calm down a little bit and they'll smooth out. So we'll head back up. Let's head on up.